Negative, everyone. It's Ali. Before we begin this week's episode, I just wanted to give a shout out to my two friends who also have YouTube channels. If you're into film analysis, critique, and just general nerdiness like I am, then check out my friend Eclipse of Fire Productions. He's currently sitting around 388 subs as I speak, so go and help him reach 400. If you're into vlog and lifestyle type of content, then check out my other friend Ashley Terrell, who has many more subscribers than any of us and pumps out awesome content. The links will be in the description. With that being said, thank you all so much for the support, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace.
Good morning, everyone, or evening, or
Shaken, not stirred.
That too. I'm not sure if that's a time of the day, but that works too. Welcome to another installment of Last Minute Movies, and today we're gonna talk about a movie that ain't
James
Pixar.
Bond.
James Bond.
Yep.
You know, that's true. Today we're gonna talk about James Bond, or another British iteration of it that is trying to be extra edgy and a little goofy.
It's like the Reddit version of James Bond.
Yeah, it's kind of like James Bond on like really high quality cocaine. I would put it this way.
I think the Reddit version of James Bond works the best.
Yeah. Cocaine, and sometimes you look at some characters, you assume it's crack, but you know.
If you didn't guess, or you probably didn't need to guess because you saw the fucking thumbnail and title, it's Kingsman. We're talking about Kingsman.
We're talking about Kingsman. And it's not the second movie, it's the first movie, and God knows one is more problematic than the other. The Secret Service.
Yeah.
I do you remember if in the movie, were they technically the part of MI6, or was it like its own thing?
It was its own thing.
Yeah, it's like
just
extra
its own
elite.
Kingsman.
Yeah, so they're extra edgy, extra classy, and like extra elite and extra everything. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's basically like an over-the-top James Bond low-key. That
exactly
like, with really good cinematography.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. So let's talk about Kingsman. So directed by Matthew Vaughn. He's the same guy that directed Kick-Ass. So if you watch Kick-Ass, then you know what kind of film you're getting yourself into. I guess we could start off with opening thoughts. Igor, what do you think of this movie?
Okay, so I mean, it's not one of those movies.
Oh my gosh, is this the first LMM film that we're going to talk about that we don't like? No. We like Kingsman, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's far beyond a lot of other films that I hate.
Let me put it this way. Kingsman satisfies kind of like my craving for action, if I really want it. It satisfies my craving for like a classy character that just like does the thing. If I ever want to see kind of like a pretty straightforward arc where they want to fight a villain, Kingsman takes all of these kind of simple things and it really just commits to doing them well. And ain't nothing bad about that. Makes it a pretty well-rounded film. But there's more to it.
Yeah, so this film is interesting because I like okay, so for me, obviously, I'm a weird, when I like, the way I like films is kind of weird. So obviously I like the posh, masterpiece filmmaking of Akira Kurosawa, or
the exquisite.
All those kinds of, Kubrick or Tarantino, or a lot of the other famous directors. But I'm also a sucker for dumb popcorn flicks as well.
And honestly,
I like myself some dumb action. I do. I can't help myself. I'm a guy.
Who doesn't? I mean,
Yeah.
Girls like it too. Girls like action too.
Okay.
Don't exclude.
Sexist. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But guys like a dumb action,
Fair.
fucking,
Fair.
destruction and violence. Yeah.
Yeah.
It appeases my toxic masculinity. So
fair. It's not exactly a testosterone movie either, but it has its testosteronial charm. Absolutely.
And I absolutely love it.
That's my main highlight of the film, honestly. Like I would not watch the whole movie in like years, but occasionally I would go to YouTube to just like see the scenes of the murdering and killing, both from the first and second film. They're just really good.
Because it's fucking awesome. It is. Yeah, the action absolutely is the highlight of the film. It's the best. It's, in my opinion, it's the best part of the film. This film's a lot more acting oriented for me. We're gonna probably talk about the actors a lot more than we're gonna talk about other things of the film, just because I feel like if the acting wasn't as good as it was and they didn't choose the actors that they did, this film wouldn't really work for me personally. It wouldn't. I think that the strengths of the films were in the performances and in the action. Before we get to that, though, I guess we could talk about the plot, right?
Okay. Yep. Let's
give
recap
you a
that
long,
thing.
drawn out summary of the plot.
That's the stuff you all come here for, anyways. Watch us struggle to finish the story of the film.
Even though we just watched it. So the film is about this guy named Eggsy. And Eggsy had a father who was a part of this service, the Secret Service, kind of like MIT, but not exactly. They're like higher up.
You mean MI6, right?
Did I say MIT? Fuck,
Yes,
I meant
did.
MI6. I'm sorry.
Hey, there is a degree of exclusivity to MIT as well, but it's just
but it's different.
part.
Just slightly different. I meant MI6. So his father was part of MI6, and he died on a mission, trying to protect all his other fellow Kingsmen as well. And one of his and Eggsy's father's superior, Harry, goes to like a young Eggsy and his mother, or mum if you're British, and he gives him like this locket that has like this number of the Kingsmen on it and tells them to say this particular phrase and call this number if you ever are in trouble and you need help. So about 17 years later, Eggsy's kind of like this bad boy. He dropped out of the Marines. He has a talents in like gymnastics and parkour. You white cop! But he's kind of a bad boy, and he ends up getting into like this bar fight with a bunch of people who know his stepdad, and his stepdad's like abusive to his mom and all of that. And so he ends up stealing their car, and he gets arrested by the police. And then he calls the number on his locket that he got by Harry years ago. That was his father's.
Just like, this is the
Harry
time.
ends up getting him. Yeah, and Harry ends up getting him out of prison, and then he ends up recruiting him to be like a Kingsman, and he's doing this training to become a Kingsman with all these other people, and they do a lot of these like wacky, weird tests. I actually really like that part of the film.
Yeah, no, the tests were actually awesome. Wait,
that was one of the better parts of the films for sure.
I want to recap that part, because I just think the tests alone, it's its own big beat that actually explores who our characters are and what they're like.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, I think that's a really creative part. Like, this film, it's not necessarily brand new with the ideas that it represents, but they managed to like stuff these really interesting, intricate things that you just don't expect where it's gonna go, just through the work and detail and stuff. Like the first time, right, they put all of these people in the room, and then it gets flooded with water in the middle of the night. And apparently, like, the solution was to grab like one of those like metal hoses and use them to breathe through the toilets that are in there, and that's like your air supply. And like just thinking about that, right? Like, I don't know what inspired this, but it's really cool. It makes for really good
cool
movies, for
it's
really
really creative
awesome takes.
and it's one of the better parts of the films for sure. And so then they move on through the test. Roxy and Eggsy are like the last people to become Kingsmen, but Eggsy ends up failing on this one specific task, and so then he, loses his, so he gets kicked out of the Kingsman. But all while this is happening, there's these villains, and this villain named Valentine, played by Samuel L. Jackson. It was kind of weird seeing him in this film. He doesn't say it like that. He's like, motherfuckers! That's how he says it.
Yeah, I can't say it like that.
Yeah, he can't say it. He's white.
I'm a Russian boy. What do you want from me? I can say motherfuckers, but it's its own thing.
I guess that works. and so he's like this billionaire, and he's giving out all these phones to people with these SIM cards in it, all for free. And his plot is that he wants to basically cull the population of humanity because of climate change, and his philosophy is. And this is actually really interesting. This is really, really interesting. Mm-hmm. This movie's so fucking weird. I don't understand this movie.
There are parts to it that
really
are so
weird.
Nice, and there are parts that are just flat out goofy. And you can't pick a side. God damn it!
It's weird. And so then his point is
global warming is the fever. Mankind is the virus.
Which I absolutely agree with.
Yeah, we're fucked up.
And then his point is that he wants to cull the Earth, which he has a point.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do it in his way, but he has a point to make.
Yeah.
And he does it by giving these the devices that makes people lose their mind and kill themselves. Not themselves, but like kill other people.
Well, yeah. First they become super violent and they start to attack people around
and he
them.
Starts to exactly.
It's crazy.
And so all while this is happening, Harry's trying to stop him, but Harry ends up falling into one of Valentine's traps, and he ends up like killing a fuck ton of people in this church.
An incredible montage.
That was the best part of the movie for sure. And then he ends up getting killed by Valentine, and so then Eggsy has to go and Valentine is like he's done this to all these world leaders, and Eggsy has to go and he has to stop him from getting the device,
basically preventing Valentine from turning the world into a giant murderous rage.
Exactly. And so Roxy has to destroy this satellite that's powering the signals, and then Eggsy has to go and he has to kill Valentine, and which he ends up doing, and then he fucks a girl in the ass.
Why do you do these things?
It's in the movie. It's in the movie.
Yes, but that's not how the movie says it. It's all implied. God damn it!
Come on, he literally says that.
Honestly, if it didn't imply it was a lot more literal than that, I wouldn't be surprised because that's.
What are you talking about? They literally pan the camera shot to her butt.
Yeah, I take that back. Yeah. I don't hate these moments in this film. I just feel like it can't decide what it wants to be. Like, is it trying to...
It's such a weird film, man. Yeah. It's such a weird film, guys. Okay, so...
Well...
We got the plot out of the way. Let's talk about... Okay, let's be nice first. Let's be nice. Okay. Let's talk about the great things of the films. The great thing of the film. The action is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Specifically the church scene.
It's
so good. It reminds me of like Daredevil. But like with the long take... And the camera shots and all of that. It's gory, it's violent, it's amazing.
Except it's even more packed. Like, it's even faster than Daredevil. Because Daredevil, you know, it roots the violence in just, like, punching and kicking. And all that happens in real time and it's uninterrupted.
Yeah, it's a lot more realistic.
Yeah, in there, it's like, yes, it feels realistic because it is an uninterrupted shot. But it feels... even more impactful because of the pacing and the speed and the choreography.
Yeah, as realistic as a blind man fighting people can be, you know, like with ninja moves.
Yeah.
But compared to Kingsman, like we're in Daredevil, he's like tired and he's getting beat up himself. I mean, Harry just goes to town on everyone in that, like, evangelical church or whatever.
Speak-
I didn't feel bad.
No, by the way,
But-
like I gotta say, this is a perfect kind of setting to do that because you get a bunch of really fucked up racist white people in there, and they just all
Yeah.
get slaughtered. The scene is not satisfying just in a sense of action; it's satisfying in
Yeah.
many different senses.
Wait, where was Harry during the Capitol attack? You know?
Well, according to the first movie, he was dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe not the
also
second.
thinking about that, right? Watching this scene now in like 2021, it's such a different like concept, and I think Valentine also as a villain, right? That's like every modern day conspiracy theory with like 5G and the network and all that stuff. Just
Yeah,
take all the
yeah.
conspiracy
And the
theories-
globalists, like all that shit, like the globalists are trying to take over the world. Yeah.
Take it,
I mean,
put
it's
them all
hilarious.
together into one character, and you'll get Valentine.
Exactly, and Valentine is brilliantly played by Samuel L. Jackson. What I liked about this is, Samuel L. Jackson, he's one of the greatest actors of our generation of all time, in my opinion. But he plays a lot of very similar characters, which is fine because he's absolutely amazing, and I love him in it.
Mhm.
But what's so fun about this film is the villain he plays, and Sam Jackson is at his best when he plays a villain or the more, morally gray kind of characters, like in
Well,
The
any
Hateful Eight.
Tarantino film.
Or any Tarantino film. But he's so different. He has like this lisp. Sounds like Mike Tyson. And then and he's like a villain, but he hates death. Like he shoots Harry in the fucking face, and he's watching all these people die, but he can't watch it because he can't handle people
He's like
dying.
squeamish.
He's like squeamish. He's like, oh god, I can't handle this. With his
Mm-hmm.
lisp, he's like, I can't handle this. Like that. That's how
Mm-hmm.
he says it, and it's just such an interesting. It's such an interesting thing. It's so not his type, and it's really good. I love seeing actors go outside of their type and play something different than what they usually play. So he was definitely a highlight of the film. Another highlight of the film is Colin Firth. I'm not too familiar with Colin Firth's work, actually. This actually might be the first time I've ever seen him act in anything, but he's absolutely amazing. He's really good in the film.
I know. I didn't see him
He's-
work either until I saw this movie. He's
Exactly. He's really really good in this film, and Michael Caine, he's in this film as well. He kind of plays who he usually plays, but I liked him. He always has a very commanding presence. In his acting, it's really good. And Taron Egerton, I think that's how I'm saying his name right, who plays Eggsy, the main character. He's good in the film. I enjoyed him. He's obviously not as strong as Samuel L. Jackson or Colin Firth or anything like that, but he holds his own. He does a good job in what he's given, and I enjoyed watching him. Yeah.
My favorite actor in this movie?
Who?
Mark Strong.
Oh yeah, that's
Like-
right. Mark
like,
Strong is
I-
also in this film.
I personally think all of those actors are well-rounded and beautiful, especially what's his name? The guy who ends up killing everybody in the church. I forgot.
Yeah, Colin Firth's character Harry.
Like honestly, he's incredible. But to me, like all of these characters that we have kind of seen one way or another in other movies, I think Mark Strong just like depicted his character, even though it is the definition of generic, right? Like the tech guy / supervisor / one of the spy / badass. He brought it to like a very kind of fresh feel to all of these tropey aspects of the character, and I appreciate that. He seemed very caring,
He was very much the straight man to everyone else's wackiness, and in any comedy, because I want to say this is a comedy film for sure, because in my opinion, I view it as a it's a parody of the super spy genre, like Mission Impossible, like James Bond, like Jason Bourne and all of that. And so in any comedy you have to have the straight man, and I think Mark Strong does a very good job in that. And I like that, and I thought it parodied a lot of the spy tropes really really well. I enjoyed that. and it was a lot. This film reminded me a lot of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This film reminded me a lot of Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
That's true.
And,
that's true.
Yeah, and it's action and it's wackiness. So yeah, that's what we think of the film and things that are good. Now on to things that fucking suck. All right, let's go. So
wait,
Igor, I'll let you start this one.
Well, okay, wait. Let me just. I'm gonna kind of have a mixed bag of things, because the more I think of the details they suck, I think of parts that come right after or right before that are not so bad. But
yeah,
let me see. I'm just thinking of like the beginning of the film and how the whole like his whole life he was never in a situation where he needed to call someone for help until now. And I get it. It's just that one plot beat seems a little weird. And honestly, like, it's one of those movies that does its thing in a way you did not expect to see it, and you feel kind of strange seeing all of those kind of like accents and tones blend together. It's one of those movies that constantly goes like, are you not entertained? You know, like, it throws in a goofy moment, it throws in a fart joke, it throws in like,
yeah,
you know, all of these.
It throws in all this shit, and it forgets its characters, and it's so weird because obviously when we just praise the acting and we praise the characters, but honestly, the character work is really weak in this film. It's really weak.
In the sense that, like, they drown in the goofs, and they drown in, like...
They drown in the goofs that the themes and the character arcs are kind of overshadowed.
Mm-hmm.
Like Harry, for example. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like I think the kind of... And I get it that it's funny. I laughed at that moment genuinely, but, like, that last cathartic moment where Eggsy is in that prison where they keep all the world leaders, and he's talking to the girl, and he, like... And if I save the world, if you save the world... You can
I'll let you do me in the ass.
So just like,
yeah.
Can this please not be the motivation? He's motivated enough. Like,
I mean, he said he said he was gonna say he's gonna go off to save the world, and she's like, oh, if you so happen to do it, then you could, do me in the ass.
Yeah, like I get it.
So it's not his motivation. It was just a funny, stupid moment. But
it didn't have to be there. It didn't have to be there.
Well,
at a cathartic moment like that is like action-packed and everything, they can have that conversation. It's a nice beat. But like, why? You know, it's kind of
I don't mind it because that was not really my problem with the film. I didn't mind that because this is a parody film. Mm-hmm. So, it's funny, like the super spy or the hero saves the girl and the girl's like, "Ooh, give me a kiss." Mm-hmm. In this, comedic parody, it's, hey, if you save everyone, I'll let you do me in the ass. So I don't mind that, right?
Yeah,
I think it's funny.
Exaggerated. It's comic.
I think it's funny. A lot of SJWs are like, oh, it's fucking, it's, misogynistic. I'm like, it's a parody film. What else are you going to expect, So I don't care about that. But the problems that I had with the film, and this is a recurring theme, one of the many problems I had with this film, is the character work. It's so weak. Like Harry, for example, Harry's entire thing of why he's getting Eggsy into the Kingsman is because Eggsy's father saved Harry's life, and he feels like he owes it to Eggsy's father's legacy and memory to train Eggsy to become a Kingsman and take the place of his father, right? And I think that's an absolutely fucking brilliant motivation. The motivation, the emotional problem and the motivation that the character has is great, but it never pays off. We never get that moment of Harry, of Harry paying back Eggsy's father. Like I don't mind Harry dying in the film, but I would have preferred it to be Harry saving Eggsy's life than just dying. Because because that character arc is now fucking shattered. You know what I'm saying? It's like you never got that moment where Harry was finally able to pay it forward because he just died by doing some random mission.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about it now that you're saying it. It makes perfect sense. Because like, why going extra, yards, introducing us to this entire, backstory with the father and everything, if this will not become one of the central parts of the movie.
It never pays off.
I think would you say that I think that for some reason, and like this is the reason why they bring him back in a second movie, Harry's character is just really, really, like, it stands out against every other character in the film because that motivation was there for long enough to play into his character and enrich it that way, but it never connected with anybody else's because it was never like externalized, you know, it never affected
Spoiler
anybody
alert,
else.
he comes back in the second film.
Yeah, he comes back in second movie, I have problems with that. It's, again...
Let's not talk about the second movie. Let's focus on the first.
It's just the second one is such a piece of trash compared to this. It has its charm, too, but, like, fuck. It gives into so many of these story tropes that I hate.
So Harry, honestly... And it's funny, because Harry, in my opinion, is the best fucking character, besides Valentine in the film, but he's wasted in this film. He never gets his moment of retribution. He never gets his moment to fulfill his character arc. His only purpose in this story is to just introduce Eggsy into the Kingsman.
Yeah.
And that's all he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he has other missions and stuff, and what he does is so good, but his character is meaningless.
Yeah.
And I hated that.
Well,
I hated the fact that you had this amazing, talented actor obviously pouring a lot into this role, and they just waste him like that.
But what he did,
it's kind of
though,
insulting, you know?
Didn't you think they did have a father-son bond to some extent?
They did,
like,
but
I think
again,
that's what the acting did.
I need that character moment where he pays it forward for what Eggsy's father did for him by saving him.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that.
Yeah, I
you
feel
know,
that.
and I understand parodies are all about making fun of the typical tropes. So having Harry just fucking die is like, oh, we're breaking the trope, but it didn't work in this context of the film. Like, even in the great comedies that you see in filmmaking, whether you see Monty Python, whether you see The Princess Bride, whether you're talking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World or any Edgar Wright film, or anything like, or Deadpool, the tropes are there. You know what I'm saying? You have the superhero landing, like in Deadpool, and the Edgar Wright films, specifically, I want to say Shaun of the Dead or some of the other films, like, they parody, like, the whole, you know, oh, we're getting the weapons together in a montage scene by one of the characters doing, like, paperwork, which is fucking hilarious.
Yep.
But at the end, you get that moment where they're getting all the weapons together, and they parody that. You get the video game tropes in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Princess Bride. You get the hero saving the not heroine, but like the other, I forget what that
I think like what you're trying to say is that
trope is called, but yeah,
there's always a natural conclusion to the things that we're set up with.
It's still even though it's a parody, it's still a story.
Yeah.
And in order to tell a story, you have to hit the character beats, and you have to make character arcs and make things make sense. I don't like some of the parody in this film is because by them parodying the tropes and the story beats, they throw them out, which I don't think you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
In my opinion, keep them, but you can parody them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and I think actually, like, to add to that point, just kind of further illustrate the problem, there is no substitute for that emotional journey that we already lost at the point where he dies.
Yeah.
And then the whole movie is no longer a character journey that is emotional. It becomes a film about subject matter, about fighting villains and saving the world, which is as good a cause as any. But you had the emotional arc at the beginning. Why losing it, and how come you didn't stick to it tonally?
And the action scenes are supposed to be the culmination of the emotional story that happened in the film. You get like Iron Man. Let's do that. Tony Stark has a heart is the entire theme of the movie, that Tony Stark does indeed have a heart and he cares about people. The last action scene of the movie, he's saving people. He's saving someone that's not himself. Spider-Man Homecoming. The entire point of the film is that he and I'm naming action films because this is also an action film.
This is definitely an
Spider-Man.
action.
So Spider-Man Homecoming. He's trying to get out of Tony Stark's shadow. Wonderful. The final action piece of the film is him fighting Vulture without any of Tony Stark's tech. You know what I'm saying? It's all these things, and it works, but in order for the final action piece to work so that it's not just a bunch of loud noise, you have to have the story. You have to have the story. In order for the action piece to make sense, you have to have the emotional payoff of the story.
And I think, like, you can even compare it to other movies by the same director. Like, you know, you would look at, I'm thinking just Hot Fuzz, right? Like, you know, there's an arc to it. And with all the goofiness, right, it's still the overall arc is we set up this guy who's really good at his job, and everyone is telling him that in this boring-ass town, nothing bad ever happens. He shouldn't be so crazy about, you know, policing it so well. But he is on it, and in the end of the day, there is, in fact, a big thing to police about that town. So, like, you know, it's a full, completed arc. And I feel like the difference between this film and like every other one, and even Scott Pilgrim too, there, like in Scott Pilgrim, there is no necessarily clear goal set up to begin with, and it applies to Hot Fuzz too. It's kind of very general. So when you get the payoff, it feels like a payoff because it kind of matches together. It bridges itself over the film, right? And then, like, you know, Scott Pilgrim, right? They want to beat the Battle of the Bands, and he wants to be with a girl. And in the end of the day, he is with her.
He gets the
know?
girl.
Yeah. Like it's an emotional journey that is conclusive. But in Kingsman, like we said, you know, it gets cut halfway through, and there's nothing else to replace it. You know, the memory of him, vengeance, that's nowhere near as complex or specific as what we're being set up with at the beginning of the film. And, like, you know, story is important, but like, and all of these action sequences are so goddamn good, and that's why I love the church scene so much, because during the church scene, we still carry the emotional arc that Harry's character had.
The emotional arc is still happening because the character was still alive, but then he fucking dies.
And you would hope it to.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, like.
Let's talk about the. So I hated that. Igor, I'm pretty sure he hated that.
That's my least favorite part.
Yeah, let's talk about Eggsy now. And his character.
Is it an oof or not an oof?
I don't know how to feel about it.
I don't think he's an oof, primarily because what I did like
about Eggsy. His character arc works.
Here's one thing one thing I really like about Eggsy. Like, he has a really specific type of like advancing arc between a person who is like, I don't want to say a social bottom, but that is how they're portrayed. Like, his name is Eggsy. Yeah. He's like exiled in that sense, right? Yeah. And you know, the buddies that he hangs out with and the people at the bar he is with and stuff, like, they're not ambitious, classy, high level people. They're more like, when I was watching it in Russian, actually, they did a translation in a way that's really interesting. They made them sound like actual kind of like low lives with no education at all, and that's what they're supposed to sound like. But in the Russian dubbing, they gave it even more of this like lore to these characters, just the way they would articulate themselves.
In case you didn't know, Igor's Russian.
You probably already knew that. But
that's the joke.
I think like his kind of rising from the place where he knew he was kind of a better person to a place where, you know, he knows that this is his now, and he obviously performs a lot better, you know, as a Secret Service agent doing these things, saving the world, than, you know, sitting at a bar getting drunk with his buddies that don't really care about much at all.
Exactly. And so Eggsy's character arc, because I guess this point of his arc was about somebody who wants to change their fate. Mm-hmm. And in order to change your fate, you have to take an active role in your life and care about your life.
Take things into your own hands.
Instead of being self-destructive. So his character arc works, but at the end, it's so like. I guess it works, but it's just it works. You know what? I'm wrong. It works. It works. I think it works.
I can tell you why it could work better.
Why do you think it could work?
There is no
better?
struggle. Like, if you look at the scene from, Star Wars, right, where I think it's The Empire Strikes Back, right? Luke is trying to practice lifting rocks for, however many times,
and he fails.
And he fails over and over again, and we see Yoda just kind of react to it in a way seeing those little things of the character failing make us feel more empowered and make him more empowered, feel more empowered when he finally manages to do the thing. But in Kingsman, primarily because of the plot devices they use, the pressure is not felt with like him having to meet the challenge, because everything is kind of happening on the fly. And once, literally, when they're thrown out of the plane and one of them doesn't have a parachute, supposedly, like a lot of these decisions are made on the fly. We don't really get to see him think or like use some kind of skill that he has that no other person in that test has. Instead, the real pressure comes from the idea of who's going to be picked, which one of them is going to die, and whether or not Eggsy is going to like remain in it. And we know he will, because he's the main character.
But Eggsy does perfectly.
Yeah,
in everything.
Yeah, like he doesn't struggle.
Yeah.
He just kind of gets it all done because
And
he's already actually, there. He's already that kind of person.
I do have a problem with the character arc. I'm wrong. Sorry, guys. I'm wrong again.
Okay.
I'm fine with him acing everything, but the last part, because the Kingsmen, each of the trainees are supposed to raise this dog, and if you make it to the level, like the final level of the training, you have to shoot the dog. They're like, shoot the dog.
Yep.
And Eggsy doesn't shoot the dog, but you know they don't actually shoot it because it turns out there's actual blanks.
Yeah, there are blanks in there.
So you never, you don't actually end up shooting the dog. But time and time again, we see Eggsy performing like acts of mercy. Like even though he's kind of a tough guy and he's a bit of a hard ass, he raised in a bit of a ghetto lifestyle. In the beginning of the film, he ends up getting arrested because of the fact that he doesn't want to run over this fox that he was almost about to back into. And so he doesn't do that. And then towards that, you know, the midpoint of the film, where he's supposed to shoot the dog, he doesn't shoot the dog. So I thought it was a really interesting character arc where it's like, okay, so the Kingsmen are supposed to be people where, you know, no matter what happens, no matter what they do, they have to show no mercy and get the job done and get the mission done. And I thought that could be something interesting because maybe that would show a flaw in the Kingsman philosophy that our main character would then end up changing for the better because of his own character and how he views the innocent. But they do nothing with that.
Yeah. Like
absolutely nothing
like,
with that.
I gotta say, like, this was my frustration too. It stays at that status quo that like Kingsmen are cool. And in the end of the movie, you're like, yeah, Kingsmen are cool. You know, they're not trying to challenge any of these things, even though clearly the film could have taken that direction, especially with like the blanks and everything.
Exactly. And then fundamentally, it's like no one else, it's like because of that, no one, the only, Eggsy does change because, you know, his other character arc about being empowered, he reaches that empowerment, but it doesn't make anyone else change in the film. No one changes because of this. None of the other Kingsmen change. No one feels different. It all feels like flat character. Like it's a flat character arc. And a flat characters can work if, you know, if they can change other people, but there's no change. You know what I'm saying? And so fundamentally, it's the Kingsmen don't become any better because of what happened in the film. They don't become any worse because of what happened in the film. Nothing happens. None of their philosophies, nothing changes. I think something that would have been really interesting is that Eggsy ends up changing because his father showed mercy and sacrificed himself in order for the other Kingsmen to live, whereas maybe the other Kingsmen wouldn't have done that because they're unempathetic. Eggsy's empathy is what ends up saving the Kingsmen at the end with Valentine's evil deeds, because he fundamentally changes them and shows that compassion is the way it's whatever that is, you know, whatever it could be. I just feel like it would have been better than basically the nothingness that we got.
Yeah, like the movie could have taken so many different directions, and it was actively trying to. And it's just, I feel like after Henry's death, there isn't like much else to it. When I try to remember, you know, what the things about the movie that I highlight, all of them happen within like the first half of it. And everything from that point on is just like, it looks good, it's really cool action, it's really cool stakes. I mean, dude, honestly, I honestly think that the movie has to like give credits when it's due. Seeing like the Rio de Janeiro beach filled with people trying to kill the shit out of each other with their bare hands, is pretty goddamn cool, right? Like, you know, seeing all the world leaders have their heads explode in a fireworks display. It's also pretty cool.
That's
and, like, you
great.
know, all of these sequences, right? Like, the whole idea of are you not entertained thing is absolutely there. And, like, I am fucking entertained. It's just, the problem is that when I was starting to watch this movie before Harry's death, I thought that there was going to be more than just straight up entertainment. And it's like, you know, it just kind of never wrapped onto itself. Instead, it just kind of, you know, cooled off as the film went on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, and why, you know, God, I don't want to say I don't like this film. It's just that it could have been so much better than this film had so much potential to be so much better. And one of the things another thing I don't like about it is that this film it's a very long film. It's like 2 hours plus. And you could hit all these character notes and all of these specific story moments, but they don't. And it's like, but you have so much time, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I feel like it wastes time on the big spectacle, and the characters and the story just suffers so much through it. So suffers so much because of it. And it's crazy because this film is so long, and that's another problem that I have with this film. This film is long, and I don't mind long films. I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy is my favorite trilogy of all time, and it's like the longest fucking set of films ever. Yep. Like 3 hours plus. The Return of the King like never ended. Like there's like an ending to an ending to an ending to an ending. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I mean, I'm still low key watching it in my head. It never ends.
Yeah, but long films can work if the pacing is good, and that's the thing that Lord of the Rings has that Kingsman doesn't. Guys, I hated the pacing of this film. The pacing sucked. I didn't like it at all. There was a scene at the end, and it's the final action. It's a final set piece of the movie, and
with
he's
a prosthetic
going,
leg lady.
And no. So they get to the secret evil lair by base, and he goes to it. He ends up getting to the base, right, where all of them are about to celebrate and party for the central culling that's happening. And then he fights. He fights a few people. Everyone's head explodes. And then he goes all the way back to the airplane to fight people to stop the satellite, just to figure out, oh shit, the satellite doesn't matter anymore, because Sam Jackson is able to work with his other guy to do it in order for these signals to boost. So then he has to go all the way back to the evil lair and then fight the bad guys. And I'm like, what the fuck happened here? Why did you have to make 2 trips?
Dude, that's literally just to increase the stakes and to keep them going. And it's cheap.
But it's like it's
a cheap trick.
It's exactly. It's a cheap trick in order to elongate the time of this movie, where you could have just had him go in, and then that's it. And I know later on they had him go back because of the scene where the princess who was kidnapped by Valentine is like, oh, if you save the world, I'll let you do me in the butt. And it's like, why couldn't okay, this is how you do it. You get out of the fucking plane from the beginning, you fight all of the henchmen, you end up seeing the princess there, she's like, get me out of here. No can do, hun. You'll be safer in the cell while I go save the world.
Yep.
And then she's like, okay, do me in the butt if you save the world. He goes, he fights everyone. Instead of making a trip back, he just fights everybody. Goes back, does her, movie done. You know what I'm saying? And that's another part of the movie. What is her character there for? Like, just to get done in the butt? Like, what?
I gotta say, in the second, just to like show how unaware this movie is, I'm gonna bring up the sequel again. Don't they start to like get together in the sequel?
I guess so,
it
right?
Basically, like the movie almost tried to tell us that, you know, it's all about just, you know, doing it in a butt. The moment you do it, that's when you are set with the person. That's love.
apparently the real theme of this movie is that anal is the way to find emotional connections with people. So back to her character though. What was her point of the movie?
Dude, she was literally
what
a
was her
damsel in
point?
distress. There was nothing
I
else
don't
to
mind.
her.
I don't mind being a damsel in distress, but you know something that could have been. She's
do.
A princess.
I mind a damsel in distress.
Okay, fine, but like, where's her father? She's a princess. Where's her father?
Her father's head
You know
exploded.
You know what would have been better?
Which is not even mentioned in the
what
movie.
What if the father What if the father or her parent figure agreed to doing the calling, but she was like, "Fuck no."
Mm-hmm.
And so then, she was in prison, but her father was at the celebration, and then after and all of that. But then as Eggsy goes in, she's like, "Oh, my father's in there. He wants to do this. Can you stop him or whatever?" You know, and
like
then bring him back to me. And he's like, "There's a chip in his neck. He's gonna die if I don't save them."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Okay, I'll let you do me in the butt if you save."
Like add the goofiness.
Take the chip out of his thing. Yeah.
The goofiness after substance.
Yeah, the
before
goofiness can be there, but add some substance to it.
Yes.
Or better yet, have up the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Make Valentine do that to the people, and he's gonna fucking kill all of the elites at his party.
So that he can be the supreme ruler.
So that ups the stakes of her saying, "Save my father," or "Save whoever," or "Save my mother," whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That ups the stakes of the story.
Yeah.
And that actually, you know, and so I don't know. It's just
you talked about Valentine, right? And
yeah.
I like him as a villain just because of like putting it into retrospect into 2021 and 2014, right? Like I said earlier, he's basically every modern day conspiracy theory thrown together. And because back then, you know, like a man who brings McDonald's to official places and like feeds people that are technically high level, like, you know, individuals.
Don't say it.
You know? Yeah, you know
and then,
you know where I'm going with this.
Or the whole like George Soros, Bill Gates, they're putting that chip in you when they're giving you the COVID vaccine.
What I'm just saying is that like 2014, because back then all of that was funny, one can conclude that 2014 was absolutely a wonderful time to be alive.
It's like, not fucking funny now.
Yeah, it's the world has changed substantially since then.
That's not the problem with the movie. In fact, I'd actually say that's the better parts of the movie, is that the movie hit those marks so well. We see that it's still a real life thing. It's still real things. These things are still happening.
Mm-hmm.
People radicalizing and making or basing all of their fears based off of this stuff. You know, it's still relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the problem of the movie. That's not one of the problem of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The problems of the movie is all the other stuff that we mentioned.
Yeah. It's the things it's the things that the movie kind of tries to fill itself with and calls it substance. But in reality, it starts to lose itself as it starts to lose the thread of the emotional arcs of their characters.
Exactly.
And it's important. And
who is Roxy's character? What was her point?
Like, her point was to go and explode the satellites that don't matter, but before that, she shot the dog that's, you know, wasn't supposed to be shot.
But she didn't, because the dog it's all blanks.
Yeah, and like, I was expecting actually them to develop some kind of love, like, romantic arc of some type with Eggsy. Like, I wasn't necessarily wanting it, I was just like, it was almost setting itself up in that way, because any kind of genre movie would do that. It's James Bond after all. But that also didn't happen. She's always kind of like a tertiary, secondary character in pretty much every arc, except for the whole training like session. And, you know, she is being actively present there for the world-saving process. But yeah, like just like every other character, she's kind of lacking in its own sense, just because of like, you know, I don't even think she got that many goofs. She's just kind of there, you know what I mean? Like, the movie could have been a lot more substantial. But I gotta say, like, for a movie where you just turn off your brain, kind of like, you know, Michael Bay type, when you turn off your brain and you go see the action, you just enjoy it, I actually think in that sense, Kingsman over-delivers. And those of us, like the filmmakers who think that, films should not consist of anything else but pure entertainment and just like explosions, sex, drugs, and the things that sell, right? People who just want to make purely entertaining movies that have no emotional substance to it whatsoever, they should check out Kingsman, because while it delivers the action, and it delivers the excitement and like the world saving the villain, it like has all the it checks all the little windows it needs, right?
Yeah, like so this is basically, to sum up Kingsman, if you're looking for a fun popcorn entertainment, trying to pass the time by, fun parody film to get a few laughs, or you want to get drunk and you want to watch it with friends, this is definitely the film for you.
Perfect.
Watch the film.
Watch it while smacked. That's amazing.
I enjoyed all of the wacky spectacle. But if you're looking for something like a little deeper, and you're looking for something, a real story, something that hits you emotionally, that you care about, or a masterpiece that someone told me that this film was, they must have been high as fuck, then this film is not for you.
Yeah.
Basically, this film is not for you.
But again, I do think that everybody should check it out, though, just to have a
you should still check it out to have your own opinions. Like,
it
what
is
do we know,
far
right?
from a terrible film, and I do think that like giving it justice just a little bit, Edgar Wright's style is still very much in it. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place, but it's like it's a charming, unfinished emotional story.
I think Edgar Wright's a lot better.
Yeah.
But
watch it for the charms at least, because
exactly. I mean, like, this isn't like a horror. This isn't a horrible film. Igor and I, we are called film students.
Really?
We're film students.
I thought you were gonna say snobs.
Are film students not snobs?
Yes, they're worse.
Yes, we are. We're worse. We're trying to be all,
Yeah, honestly,
intellectual
we're worse
about
than
our
snobby,
filmmaking, right?
pseudo-intellectual people that use their own subjective views of things with the limited knowledge they have to judge pieces of cinema that were created by people that are a lot more skilled than they are.
Yeah,
but that's why you're all here anyways, isn't it?
Exactly. But so don't listen to us. Get your own opinion about the film.
And let us know.
Let us know. If you love
know.
Kingsman and you wanted to, and you're wrong, we'll talk. And but if not, if you agree with us, let us know as well. We're down to any kind of opinions.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. That's all I've got.
Expect a video essay that is a cinematography breakdown of Kingsman and how it was made, because the one thing I learned from it is the cinematography and like how to execute certain scenes, make them feel uninterrupted, because that's the shit.
Is it bad if I say some of the cinematography and the acting was a little...
Well, if the acting doesn't work, the cinematography won't work by definition. So, like everything is iffy about this. I'm just talking about the action sequences, homie. Like the action sequences that...
No, I'm talking specifically about the action sequences, though.
Oh, you think so? Like you didn't like the church? I really like the bar fight.
I liked the church. I liked
the bar fight.
I liked
was
the bar
decent.
fight. I liked how brutal.
I think
some of the camera work, some of the fast camera work, I didn't really like. But that's just my own sort of style of what I think an action film should be, and how I think you should film action. Like, I think there's other films like Ip Man, for example, or any sort of Hong Kong cinema that you watch. I think that action is absolutely way better than Kingsman. But it's all about your personal preference, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that one thing that I think is kind of equally problematic is the plot. The final action scene did not feel as good to me, or like none of the final action scenes felt as good to me as the bar scene, the bar fight scene, and the church fight scene.
Yeah, it's like
tells
each
a lot.
action. In an action film, each scene is supposed to up the stakes. Or if the final scene is not as heavy action-wise, or not as over the top as the previous one, then you need to make it more emotional. You know what I'm saying? So like in let's say, for example, Matrix Reloaded, right? The final action part is definitely not as big and spectacle oriented as the mid part of Matrix Reloaded, where he's fighting like 1,000 Agent Smiths, right?
Yep.
But emotionally, it hits more because Trinity is dying, right? So that's fine. But the final part of this film, it doesn't hit you in the core emotionally, and it's not nearly as good as the church action scene. So you don't really care, You're like, okay.
And that seems to be an overall conclusion. I think we've said enough.
We ripped this movie to shreds.
Well, not exactly. We appreciated its charms for what it had.
This is a far cry from something. I'm gonna say it for you guys. Suicide Squad. Oh God.
Talking about
this is way better. This is a way better than a film like that.
It's a way better
or
than
the
a lot
Amazing
of
Spider-Man
movies.
2.
Kingsman is way better than a lot of movies. I will take Kingsman over any Transformers movie, maybe except the first one.
I actually heard Bumblebee was pretty good.
Well,
I'll take it.
I didn't see that one actually, but
I'll
the
take
main
it
ones.
over Alien. I'll take it over Alien Covenant. That's for sure. God.
I'm setting the bar
Oh
very
God.
low.
Another horrible. God, I can't talk about these films, guys. I get angry.
We do need to do like a roast
cringe.
of movies, though. We definitely
we
do.
will. We will.
On this note, thank you all so much. Thank you all for making it this far. We appreciate you and we love you for being here.
We do. Yes.
You guys are the reason why we do this in the first place. Those who are willing to listen to us ramble forever and maybe actually learn a thing or two, or not. Maybe you just enjoy watching us and thinking how dumb we are. Hey, that works.
Hey, they're not here for the whack. They're not here for the emotional depth of this podcast. They're here for the wacky, the action and the swearing and the spectacle, right?
Shitty subjective opinions of things. Anyways.
Oh man.
Thank you guys. Thank you for being here.
Right.
This was Last Minute Movies. I'm Igor. This is the other boy, Ali.
Subscribe, like our social media, comment, all that fun stuff.
Signing out.
Bye, guys.